We begin this week with so much emotion and unrest all across the country after those devastating shootings. You see, some rallies, like this one in Minnesota, did turn violent over the weekend. Dozens of officers injured. This healing is going to be hard.
And we have so many striking images to show you. This encounter between a young woman and officers in riot gear in Baton Rouge. And last night, people asking for peace in Los Angeles, protesters joining hands, making a statement as the country mourns the loss of those lives in Louisiana and Minnesota, and of course, those 5 officers in Texas.
And in Dallas this morning, closed offices now reopening. The city is reaching for understanding. And Amy on the scene in Dallas right now. Good morning, Amy.
That's right, George. Good morning to you. The city of Dallas preparing for President Obama's visit here tomorrow, as this city still in mourning and on edge after that deadly shooting Thursday night, with calls for peace and justice growing louder in protests and vigils across the country. Overnight, hundreds of protesters shut down LA's massive 405 freeway in both directions. As night fell on Memphis, more than 1,000 demonstrators took to this bridge, bringing Interstate 40 to a standstill for almost 4 hours. In Baton Rouge, where Alton Sterling was killed by police last week, 48 arrests overnight, following more than 100 arrests Saturday. Among them, Black Lives Matters activist DeRay McKesson.
I remain disappointed in the Baton Rouge police, who continue to provoke protesters who are peacefully protesting.
In St. Paul, Minnesota, 21 officers were hurt during a rally, one of them suffering a broken vertebrae after a concrete block was dropped on his head. Police report protesters throwing fireworks, rocks, and Molotov cocktails. 102 people arrested. Meanwhile, the country remembering the 5 Dallas law enforcement officers killed in an ambush by a lone gunman.
Every one of those men and women that lose their lives in the line of duty, they are fathers, they are mothers, they are husbands, they are grandpas. We're the same. We're not different.
The other 9 officers injured in the shooting all released from the hospital and recovering at home. This morning, a nation praying for peace. Several thousand gathered at this town hall in West Dallas.
I don't care what color they are, it's hard to reject love. I have never seen love lose a fight. You can wrestle it down to the mat and try to hold it down, but before you count to 10, love will leap back up again. And speaking of all the love, it is right here behind me, an outpouring of support piled on top of 2 Dallas police cruisers. And President Obama cutting short that trip to Europe to return home to the States. He is set to visit this city tomorrow, where he will attend a memorial service for those fallen 5 officers. Robin?
All right, Amy, thank you.
The Blue Ribbon Panel on Transparency, Accountability, and Fairness in Law Enforcement has finally released their findings about the San Francisco Police Department. The investigation began last May when it was revealed 14 officers exchanged racist and homophobic texts. RT's Brigida Santos joins me now live from Los Angeles with the latest. Brigida, what are the results of the Blue Ribbon Panel's year-long probe?
Anya, 3 judges and a handful of independent lawyers have been investigating the San Francisco Police Department for over a year now. Their investigation included reviewing over 4,000 documents and interviewing about 100 or so members of the department. And what they found is that, yes, there is indeed institutionalized bias within the San Francisco Police Department. Specifically, what the panel has found is that Blacks and Latinos are consistently searched without consent far more often than whites and Asians, and that the policies for these searches is completely inconsistent and across the board. So now the panel is recommending that some reforms are put into place. Some reforms including putting the San Francisco Police Department under civilian management and putting up a public online portal so that people can actually investigate what the police are investigating and hold them accountable. The panel has also said that the San Francisco Police Department has a good old boys club in which they have protected themselves from any sort of disciplinary actions. There's no accountability. And so they're saying that these things need to be put in place. Now, the Police Officers Association, the union in which most of these police officers are members of, they are saying that this report is not true. They don't like what it says, and that they're incredibly unhappy with it, because what they're saying it does, these police, is they're saying that this is creating more divisiveness at a time when the city needs more unity. However, a supervisor in the city is agreeing with the panel's recommendations and is actually putting forward a proposed legislation that will now limit or deny funds going to the San Francisco Police Department unless these reforms are put in place. Anya.
All right, and yesterday you were at the Los Angeles Police Commission where a decision was made on whether the LAPD killing of Redell Jones was justified or not. That decision has since been handed down. What can you tell us?
Unfortunately, despite the fact that hundreds of people were protesting at the Los Angeles Police Commission yesterday during the time when this decision was being made, the Los Angeles Police Commission has found that the killing of Redell Jones last August was justified, and that none of the police involved in the killing had violated any deadly use of force tactics or policies within the department. Now, to refresh people's memories, Redell Jones, a 30-year-old African-American woman, was shot down by police last August when they were in pursuit of a suspect whom they said she fit the description for in a robbery of a pharmacy where $80 was stolen. And so in pursuit of this suspect, they find Redell Jones and they are pursuing her, and that's when they say that she came after them or toward them with a knife. And that's when they say that they tried to use a taser on her before shooting her dead. However, a witness was present and said that at no time did she see the police use a taser, and that Redell Jones was actually running away from them. So this ruling was handed down, as you said, and people were incredibly upset. The protesters took the protest about a block down from the police commission to City Hall, where they stayed through the night. I went there this morning and spoke to Amari Shakur, who is one of these Black Lives Matter protesters who stayed the night. Take a listen to what he told me.
Redell Jones was a family woman. She was married. She had 2 children. I don't understand how shooting an unarmed black woman in the back while she's trying to run from you in policy. That's my sentiment. Fire Chief Beck. Because Chief Beck has proved himself over and over again to be an incompetent leader. He's the chief of police. He has the power to discipline these officers.
So they're talking about Charlie Beck, who is the chief of police here in Los Angeles. What's really interesting is that in the case of San Francisco, a very similar thing happened with Chief Gregory Sir. At the time he was the chief, he has now since been fired by Mayor Ed Lee. So the same thing could potentially happen here. Protests are continuing. It is the 3rd anniversary of Black Lives Matter. Anya.
Thanks so much, Brigida Santos, for following that story for us from LA.
Family pleading for your help tonight to catch a serial shooter targeting people all throughout Phoenix.
ABC 15's Navita Fergani is joining us live. And Navita, a community group stepping up to help these families who say they want justice.
Yeah, Steve, the Guardian Angels were out patrolling. They were actually passing out these flyers, making sure everyone is aware of this serial shooter. The group actually started back in 2005 during the Baseline and another serial shooting case, but they are back at it again, and they are hoping anyone who knows anything will call it in.
You heard about the serial killings in Maryvale?
No. Spreading the word, making sure people know that the serial shootings in Maryvale have expanded into the rest of Phoenix. Despite our coverage, so many people unaware that a killer is on the loose.
The thing is, when something like this takes place, they need to know.
People like George are thankful for the group of volunteer Guardian Angels spreading the word.
I had no idea. It's scary.
8 total shootings, 9 people shot, 7 killed, and Briangela White is grateful for the complete strangers trying to help get a killer or killers off the streets.
It hurts. It breaks my heart.
Her mother, Annette White, was gunned down on April 19th, shot 3 times and left for dead near 32nd Street in Fillmore.
When we first heard about it, everyone pretty much knew that it had to be a stranger.
But weeks went by with no answers. Her family, frustrated, hit the streets hoping to help generate tips. But it wasn't until now, 4 months later, that police told Briangela that her mother's case is linked to the serial shooter.
In the beginning, it was rough because it's like, will we ever get justice? And now that we know that it's linked and we have a sketch, it's like, you know, a little bit possibility that, you know, we might see justice being served.
Now, Briangela, along with all the other families that I've talked to since this has happened, are all really hoping that people will come forward. So take a look at this sketch again. If you recognize this man, go ahead and call Silent Witness. There is a $30,000 reward being offered for any tip leading to an arrest.
They'd expected a couple of thousand people. But when police opened the border between Venezuela and Colombia, tens of thousands poured through. Desperate to buy food, medicine, basic necessities, now too expensive or simply impossible to get in Venezuela.
I was crying as I crossed the bridge when I saw the avalanche of people. It's unbelievable to me that all of Venezuela wants to come here, to this neighboring country, to look for the things we can't get over there.
Venezuela's oil-dependent economy is in tatters, struggling for months from hyperinflation and recession. For people there, it's meant soaring food prices and waiting in queues for hours, sometimes days. That's if food is available at all. Last week, hundreds of Venezuelan women had pushed across the border into Colombia to buy what they could. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had kept the border closed for almost a year in a crackdown on smuggling. But under growing pressure, Maduro gave officials the green light to officially open the border for 12 hours.
There are no birth control pills, no milk, no diapers for children. So what are we to do? There is nothing. The shortages are getting worse. I would like President Maduro to see these images and realize what we want. We're tired of socialism. We would love to have everything, to live like people here in Colombia live. Why do we have to be humiliated like this?
Shops in the Colombian border city were swamped. Venezuelans bought as much as they could carry. But this is just a temporary reprieve. Venezuela's economic and political crisis is showing no sign of easing. Mariana Hond, Al Jazeera.
淤泥大概有30几公分啊，昨天清理到现在还没清理完。对啊，而且5、6点钟就在下雨，就板东线那种。
在等待着我们的转移。现在消防官兵呢，顺着我的手势的方向呢，已经在进入这一户人家，在开始开展他们的救援。
没事，先出去啊。